emotions in eyesight and vision. And this researcher was Dr. Charles Kelley, who was a doctor in psychology. He defended his PhD dissertation in the New School of Social Research in association with the University of Columbia in New York in 1958. I'm talking about the University of Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. It's an Ivy League university, so a very good university, one of the top universities in the United States. And the PhD that he conducted and defended got the first prize to the best PhD of the whole year. So we're not talking about a small research, we're talking about research that was awarded, and not only awarded, but his research was published in journals of psychology, of course, at the time, but also in journals of optometry. And he appeared in Time magazine and in the New York Times, and he was on the radio and the television in New York and California. So at the time, this research really had a lot of diffusion for a time. Unfortunately, these very important findings have had about zero effect on how ophthalmologists and optometrists address vision and eyesight, and the factors that make it worse and the factors that make it better. So Charles Kelley not only did this PhD and other articles, he kept researching and publishing, and there's a very nice book that you can find for free online called The New Techniques of Vision Improvement that he published in 1971 that can be still found for free in the website of the Radix Institute, the institute that Charles Kelley founded. So if you're curious, you can go ahead and look for it and download it, or you can write to us and we can send you a copy, no problem. So you can write to Ainhoa@clearsightmethod.com and we'll send you a copy. So this information has been out there since about 60 years, almost 65 years now. So these are things that are known, and not only by Charles Kelley, but there's been other research talking about this. For example, the same year, Jack Fox published a PhD called The Functional Factors in Myopia, a PhD dissertation at the University of California in Los Angeles, UCLA, also a very good university in the States. In the 70s, in the mid-70s, we also have Caroline Zagerm publishing a psychological approach of the improvement of myopia, another PhD dissertation in the University of Colorado. And we also have a very interesting research, and there's more, but I'm just highlighting a few, published in 1996, a study by Martin Birnbaum and Kelley Thoman, talking about visual function in multiple personality disorder. So let me tell you just a couple words about this. What these researchers found was that people who have multiple personalities, these multiple personality disorders, have different eyesight depending on what personality is active. I'm going to talk about it in a very exaggerated and metaphorical way, but let's imagine that the person having this multiple personality disorder sometimes believes that he's Napoleon, and we know that it doesn't work really that well, but that way. So when the person believes he is Napoleon, then, for example, he's nearsighted, he has myopia. But when this same person believes he's Therese of Calcutta, then the person needs reading glasses or has presbyopia. And when the person believes she's Gandhi, then the vision is normal. There's no problem. And we know that that's not exactly how it functions, like they don't necessarily believe there's someone else or something, but with different personalities, we can have a symptom and another symptom, or a symptom in one and no symptom in the other. And this happens in split seconds. The change of vision happens the moment the change of personality happens. So this is telling something very interesting, and that is that the way we see the world, literally, the way our eyesight function is related with the way we see the world, metaphorically. So different personality profiles are linked to different symptoms. And when we know which is the personality profile or which is the emotion behind the symptom, it is much easier to release it and then see clearly again. And there's research about this. So there's all the research that Charles Kelley conducted for many, many years, and all these other researchers that we've been talking. There's a lot of research on myopia, but not only. And there was also Martin Brofman that did research on this, and Dr. Martin Brofman. And I had the fortune to work with Dr. Martin Brofman for 7 years, translating all his workshops in Spain. And beyond that, at the University of Toulouse, and at the university in general, where I have been a tenured professor for about 20 years, I've been doing research on this. And to mention one of the research that I've conducted at the University of Toulouse with the collaboration of a colleague who's a sociologist of health and the body, we conducted a research with a survey to 450 people, and we found out that in more than 80% of the time, the vision problems started at the time when the person was living something stressful with tension that provoked lots of emotions, and maybe they were not completely well handled. And it's actually even more than 80%. Precisely, it was 82% of people, when we asked them when the vision problem started, they would spontaneously mention stressful events happening at that time. Now, there was an extra 6% who said, no, nothing particular happened, my father died. Or no, I cannot remember anything in special. I was fired from my job. Or I can think of anything. Or was it when I moved to live to another country? So they were not recognizing it in the first place, but in the second sentence, they were mentioning things that were stressful anyway, and that could have provoked all this stress, tension, emotions, etc. So if we add them together, that's 88% of cases in which people could mention stressful events at the moment where their vision started to decrease. And for that 12%, we don't know if they simply don't remember, but there was also a stressful effect, or if actually nothing happened. We cannot know. So it's a very conservative and reasonable rule to say that at least in 80% of the cases, the vision decreases at the same time there is tension, stressful events, and emotions. Dr. William Bates talked about mental tension and vision problems, but with Charles Kelley and beyond, we have a much better understanding about the impact of emotions. And with current neurosciences, we know, and the polyvagal theory of Dr. Porges from the University of Illinois, we know more and more how perception, and then, for instance, vision, is linked to the nervous system, and how shifts for our nervous system, depending on how we perceive the situation that we are in, completely change our perception. If we are afraid or we are relaxed, we literally don't see things in the same way. There's lots of different settings happening in our eyes and in our brains that make us see things differently. So if with them, it is true that a shift in our personality, in emotions, in our nervous systems can shift our eyesight in mere seconds, then if we find the key that has been underlying the vision problem and we release that emotion, we let it go, we can also very quickly improve our eyesight and our vision. And that's a deep transformation, because the symptom that we got was probably an adaptive response of the body to the environment. And when the source of that adaptive response is not there anymore, the fear or the situation and the emotions that really develop towards the situation, then we don't need to keep that symptom anymore. And this emotional level is very important, because this is one of the reasons why some people get surgery for their eyesight, and after the surgery, they get back to the same symptoms that they had, because they did not address the underlying emotions that were behind the eye symptoms. And this is unfortunately a lot more frequent than we'd like. The University of Helsinki, in the Department of Ophthalmology, in the surveys and the research they've conducted, they've noticed that 58% of people who get surgery for their eyes develop again the same symptoms for which they got the surgery, and need to wear glasses again after the surgery. So How fun is that? You spend the money, you go through the surgery, you take the risk and the pain and all the recovery time. And after some time, a lot of people end up having to wear glasses again. So it's better probably, I mean, we'd like to give you the option not to have to go through that path and to be able to avoid that. And there's research about this. So let me get back to Charles Kelley and his pioneering research on the effect of emotions in eyesight and vision. Okay, so I need to tell you a little bit about Charles Kelley's story. Okay, so Charles Kelley, I was reading a little bit the chat to see if I could pick something up that would be useful, but I'll do that. I'll do that later. So anyway, Charles Kelley had developed myopia, so he was nearsighted. Or short-sighted. He needed glasses to look far away, to see far away. No wonder that he did his PhD in myopia, because that was what he solved for himself. And fortunately, he could take classes directly with Margaret Darst Corbett. Margaret Darst Corbett was one of the star students of Dr. William Bates. They got in contact in the later career of Dr. William Bates. Margaret Darst Corbett, before becoming a vision educator, she had been a teacher. So she knew very well how to learn and then how to explain things to others in a very easy and methodical and step-by-step way. So she was an amazing vision educator. She learned really well from Dr. Bates, and her way of sharing the information and supporting people was extremely successful. Margaret Darst Corbett had a practice in LA, and she built a very big team and really had thousands and thousands of clients because, well, the results were really impressive. And she had a lot of clients from the Hollywood and the film industry. Lots of stars and actors and actresses went to see her. And now, a more modern, well, he's kind of old now, but after that period, because we're talking like black and white films also in that area. But we have, for example, Kirk Douglas that has followed natural vision improvement and who didn't wear glasses. But anyway, getting back to Margaret Darst Corbett, so she was very famous. She had really lots of clients. And among her clients were Aldous Huxley, the author of A Brave New World that a lot of us had to read during our secondary studies in high school. And so she helped him get from being legally blind into being functional without glasses. So that's amazing. And Charles Kelley also went to see Margaret Darst Corbett. And he managed to get rid of the eyeglasses for myopia, for being nearsightedness. He corrected that, and he was very happy. He was thrilled. At the same time, Charles Kelley was studying psychology. And in his studies of psychology, so from Margaret Darst Corbett, he learned about Bates' theory, and the theory that myopia is caused by the obliques being too tense, and so being nearsighted is caused by an elongated eye because of tension in the oblique muscles, and hyperopia is caused by having an eye that's too short, but that's because the straight muscles are keeping it too flat or too short. That astigmatism is caused by irregular tension in the straight muscles, and that presbyopia is caused by tension in the ciliary muscles. So he was acquainted with these theories of muscle tension being the cause of the refractive errors. And practicing with these theories and with the exercises and relaxation and palming, etc., he corrected myopia. So he saw that it was true, that it worked. And in his psychology studies, of course, he studied Freud, and he studied all the authors and researchers that followed Freud. And there were a number of them that were heterodox and followed their own path. You may have heard, for example, of Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, but also, and this is the one that interests us, Wilhelm Reich. So Wilhelm Reich was very interested in the effect of emotions in the body. And he developed a whole theory of how, when a person is exposed to a certain emotion or the person cannot integrate it or transcend it or handle it, and that this emotion is repressed or suppressed, this emotion gets stored in the body, causing muscle tension. And he developed a theory of, depending on the posture that you see in people, you can deduct, you can know what kind of emotion they have been handling. And you can also observe this in daily life. When people are sad or depressed, they don't hold themselves in the same way when they are angry or when they are happy. It really does impact posture and how the muscles are working. So he developed a whole theory and methods to release all those emotions that are within the body. And when you release those emotions, of course, you have more movement and you have more energy, and the blood circulates better, and the nervous impulses circulate better, and the chemistry of the body functions better. So you literally have more energy to face different situations in life. And so there's a whole line of bioenergetics that has been developed in psychology that comes from Wilhelm Reich's theories. Okay, and so Charles Kelley was listening from these theories of Wilhelm Reich that when an emotion is not fully digested or transcended and is repressed, it is stored in the body like muscle tension. And on the other hand, he had heard from Bates, from Margaret Darst Corbett, that myopia is tension in the oblique muscles, hyperopia is tension in the straight muscles, astigmatism is tension in the straight muscles but irregular tension, and presbyopia is tension in the ciliary muscles. So he wondered, what if the origin of the tension in those muscles that are causing these vision problems is emotional? How about there is a consistent correlation between certain kinds of emotions and certain kinds of eye symptoms? And that's when he started his research. And he did actually find these correlations. Yeah. So Charles Kelley developed the pioneering research on these correspondences between certain emotions and certain eye symptoms. And as I mentioned, there's been other researchers developing them, among them Martin Brofman, and I learned from him. So I took his set of hypotheses and I applied them also in my research. And so what I'm going to be talking about now is the accumulation or the compilation of the research on this field of research. Yes? Okay, and you can check if you have written down in your notebook what are the eye symptoms that you have and when they appeared and what was happening at the time when they appeared for the first time, when they were diagnosed or when you noticed, when someone noticed. You will see if the things I'm talking about make sense to you. And if it rings a bell, if it resonates with you, well, then you have another possibility, another tool, another capacity to transform your eyesight and improve your vision naturally, which is what we want you to be able to accomplish.